Good morning, everyone. My today's lecture is again on personal management, introduction to personal management, a little bit more about personal management. I will be talking in today's lecture a detailed analysis, or I would say a detailed view of personal management. It is very important apart from, although the topic is entirely about HRM, but as I mentioned in the syllabus also, there is a need to understand what was the role of personal management, and already discussed the historical aspect and the evolution of personal management. By definition, today's lecture will be focused on personal management, its characteristics, its objectives, its philosophy, and then a little more, and then further we can give a quick comparison between HRM as well as personal management. Now, by definition, personal management is the administrative discipline of hiring, training, and compensating employees while following the labor laws and regulations. So, personal management is a responsibility of all those employed as specialists who manage people, as well as the work of those who are employed. So, it is that part of management which is concerned with people at work and with the relationships within an enterprise. In fact, there are certain characteristics, or we can say that there are few important aspects of personal management. Primarily concerned with blue collar and clerical workers. It maintains personal records and files. It administers wages, salaries, and benefits. It ensures compliance with the government rules, regulations, laws, handles termination and retirement paperwork. So but then still it is quite relevant in today's government, manufacturing, and small enterprises. So personal management is an important part of management process, which was primarily concerned with the human constituents of an organization, and the methods which has been adopted focused on the development of the potentialities of the employees for the success of the organization. So the personnel get maximum satisfaction of out of their work, and put efforts for the improvement of organization. It is purely people or personal centered management, and its main objective was to have effective utilization of human resources. Although it was considered to be an instrument to attain the established objective of the organization, and thus in this process of achieving the goals and objectives of the organization, it was described as a process of planning, organizing, team building, executive action, and controlling. So the personnel with a view to attain maximum efficiency and to get the best results. So personal management, even though is not clearly distinguished as a separate entity in hospitals or in nursing, the respective departments, technical establishments, small or big enterprises, they are made to responsible for managing the staff of their respective departments. So initially there was no post designated as labor welfare officer, uh, as in, and but then later on, as I discussed earlier, that the labor in this during the 70s and 80s, labor officer, welfare officers came into existence, and a personal department was available, and the managerial heads were made responsible for looking after the affairs of the organization. So this was an important aspect of personal management. So it can be said that personal management was considered as a management process which included planning, organizing, controlling, coordinating, and evaluating the personnel. And at the same time, it was concerned with the welfare, with the development, as well as talking about or focusing on human relations of its manpower or human resources. If you look into the scope of personal management is was the expansion of general management, which shoulders the total responsibility of human resources of the organization. The scope is quite wide and in large, and in is quite wide, and in larger organization, the executives or managers cannot carry out all the actions of personal management. Sometimes, it happens. So since it deals with manpower, it takes care of staffing, that is selection, recruitment, and retention, training and development, economic resources, that is the wages, salary, incentive, bonuses, motivation for staff development, for personal and for the organizational growth, creating favorable working conditions for personal welfare and development. And of course, it further looks into human relations, respect to individuality and welfare of the individual, the communication process, which is both formal and informal. However, the scope is quite wide and large, as I said, and the personal departments with personal managers, they are considered to be the heads or supervisors, and they have a specific role to perform. So the responsibilities are delegated to some extent to personal departments, but not on the whole. So in the particularly the responsibility lies with the managers, directors of personal management. So personal department is was entrusted with special functions such as developing procedures for employment for particular jobs, and they is more accountable to the total process performed in the departments, although even though the responsibility is delegated to the supervisors or other heads of department. If you look into the philosophy and objective of personal management, the organization is considered, personal management, in other words, it is considered as a method of managing human resources, and it works with the people of humanistic behavior or human relations, and it is more, its management is again people centered, personal centered, and it is a method which adopts methods for developing the potentialities of employees or personnel for achieving the best results in the organization. And it is also concerned with all the matters to the method, or it adopts methods for developing the potentialities of employees or personal, for achieving the best results in the organization. And it is also concerned with all the matters related to employment, employees welfare, personal satisfaction, motivating, as it believed that the motivated satisfied employees with high morale would help the organization with the interest to achieve the organization goals. So organization is here as considered as a social system, but not of course a techno-economic, and human beings social and job satisfaction leads to quality and efficiency of work. This was the philosophy of personal management. And we all know that human beings are social animal, and his behavior is influenced by groups around him, as he cannot be isolated from the group. Thus his existence or humans functioning in group becomes imperative in order to achieve the economic satisfaction. And human beings or people working are part of the organization, and they are capable they are capable, they have self direction, control and development. So this participation as a style of leadership and management helps for the survival and growth of the organization. And then the motivational factors not only depend on the economic gains or incentives, but they largely focuses on the social and psychological satisfaction. So job satisfaction is also there. Meeting the above needs, is considered to be a highly motivating factor. So this was the philosophy of personal management, that what changes it can bring about, or how human beings, they are part of this management process. There are certain objectives of person management, as the term indicates, that it is concerned with the personal, their interest, their motivation, welfare, morale, satisfaction, and development. So its objectives are mainly directed to personal or people, keeping in mind that without person's effort, the organization cannot achieve its goals successfully. Its aim is not only having the personnel in required number, but also to see that they are properly utilized and they are retained in the organization. So the major objectives of personal management, it to obtain useful and competent workers, motivating and helping the personnel for their maximum contribution to the personal department organization, establishing a conducive favorable atmosphere and relationship between employers and employees, helping the workers to work smoothly with utmost job satisfaction. It becomes important to have a certain level of job satisfaction, because unless and until the employee feels related, connected to the organization, he or she should have a level of satisfaction. His or her productivity would not be enhanced. He would be lethargic. If there is no scope of job satisfaction, it is not going to hamper, it is just not going to hamper the functioning of the organization, but it also detrimental to the health, mental and as well as physical health of the employees as well. So it is important that there is a level of job satisfaction when it comes to working conditions or work environment or job responsibility, and developing the potentialities of its employees to acquire maximum satisfaction from the work they are expected to do, by providing adequate opportunities to exercise their rights, and and feed on for development. So these are the important objectives of personal management. Then there are certain characteristics of personal management. The most important characteristic is that there should be the right people on the right job. This is the mantra which is followed both in personal management as well as in human resource management. In fact, I would like to share an incident where I had an encounter, or I would say that I had an interaction with a general manager, and I was asking that. What how would you select or reject an individual, or how do you decide that a person is available or it is right for the job? So the general manager, he responded that they aren't, I mean, the organization takes all kind of person, but it is the only mantra in HRM or as well as personal management is the right person at the right time for the right job and at the right place. This is the only thing he said, that this is what matters. Sometimes you might, because you will not get the right person, sometimes the right time, the time is not appropriate, the place is not fit for the individual. So on this basis, on this mantra, we do the recruitment, and we hire people. So this mantra is very important. It's as simple as anything, because it is just about how well, or rather I would say how effectively you manage to get the right kind of person on the right job. So it is very important the individual's knowledge, skills, abilities, it should match with the job responsibilities, job description, job specifications. In a job, there has to be an alignment, that there has to be synchronization between the individual who's going to perform, the employee who's going to perform the job, as well as the individual. So there has to be a kind of relationship between the individual's expectation and from the job, and also the expectation the employer would have from the individual when he's performing the job. So it is very important that to understand that the right person in the right job at the right time and at the right place. So adequate, we look into the further characteristics. Adequate and appropriate training programs for new employees and for staff development. Training needs, when we further discuss about training needs or training programs or training modules, it is very important to provide appropriate, adequate training measures, training techniques, the employees. There are various benefits of training. It is just not about introducing the employees to the work environment when he's been recruited or when he has been selected, but it also helps the individual to enhance his ability, to enhance his performance, to minimize the mistakes, or to minimize any kind of eventualities, or any kind of issues or challenges. And training is required to sharpen the employee's skills, to so that he would have a better better understanding that what is expected of him, what kind of performance has to be there. Training is also given to motivate the employees, to keep them in the loop, to retain them. So there is so that monotony or boredom or lethargy could be eliminated. So training is appropriate, or any training is also done to to give a to enhance the ability in in AI. So if you talk about a technological advancement, so the individual should be adept at handling any kind of technological changes or technological advancements which might take place in the organization. So appropriate, and there are a lot ways, many, they are on the job training, off the job training, when we'll discuss further in the course about training modules, training techniques. And it helps the employees to have those technicalities, to know about what they are in, what machines, what tools, or what kind of so I mean, so that his efficiency can be enhanced. Then there should be sound policies and procedures for procurement, development, compensation, integration, and maintenance of personnel, that is planning, recruitment, placement, development, remuneration, maintaining interest of the employees, matching with organizational objectives. So every organization, they need to have certain sound policies, effective policies and procedures for procurement, that they have to also analyze, they have to do the forecasting, demand and supply analysis, cost benefit analysis. They have to look into the individual's growth and development, what compensation packages has to be given, then integration or and maintenance of their personal needs, expectations. So planning is there, recruitment is there, remuneration is there. Then all these aspect has to be taken into when you are talking about the philosophy or creating or bringing about the policy of an organization. Then favorable and conducive working conditions. Of course, it is important part of any establishment that the work culture or the work environment should be favorable, it should be conducive, it should not be toxic. People should have, they should relate, or they should feel comfortable, and they have a healthy atmosphere. So that organizational culture has to be developed in a positive manner with minimum negativity, and a good cordial relation needs to be established. Then labor welfare services and grievance procedures. Labor laws, one important, as I mentioned earlier also, that administrative personal management has been more of an administrative structure. Nevertheless, labor welfare measures, that is labor services, laws, legislations, they have to be complied by the employers as well as the employees. There are various acts, enactments, the Factories Act, Equal Remuneration Act, then Sexual Harassment Act, Equal Pay and Equal Work Act. These all need to be followed, what the state has already defined in terms of labor laws. And then there are various grievance handling procedures, in either in the world of collective bargaining or trade union or workers participation. So there is grievance or grievance handling machine department, or any kind of redressal procedures need to be rectified or need to be handled. So this also has to be taken care by the personal management. Then appreciation and recognition at work. Of course, in order to motivate an employee, and also to retain the employee, it is very important that there is a timely recognition and appreciation of the worker, whether it should be in the form of any kind of incentive, bonuses, or it should be in the kind of some kind of reward, promotion. So this appreciation and this kind of recognition would not only motivate the employees, but it also gives a sense of belongingness. It creates a kind of loyalty, devotion towards the organization. So incentive awards should be given to the employees. System between the employees and the employer should be established. As I earlier mentioned, that personal management has a more indirect approach of communication, but that has to be seen and that has to be checked. It should be more of a direct way of dealing with any grievance, dealing with any issues. They should have a platform where there would be more of a direct interaction and communication with the employers as well as the employees. They should have proper channels of communication, either in the form of group discussion or feedback form, or kind of one-to-one interaction with the managers or with the supervisors, or maybe in a written form, emails, formal emails. So this, they need to, whatever the concerns of the employees, it should be directly noted, come to the notice of the employer or the manager. They are the then it is when you talk about the other further characteristics, it is about the participative supervision and guidance, which will be in during will be we talk about the participative management when in this course, in the structure, that this part kind of supervision and guidance is necessary, and it requires constant monitoring, constant giving some kind of guidelines, assisting the subordinates, the team workers. So there, this participative management is important, where the managers, the line managers, their team workers, the colleagues, subordinates, they all help each other. They try to guide each other. There would be some kind of an assistance in dealing with any issues or challenges, or achieving the target and achieving the goals and objectives of the organization. Then democratic style of leadership, here it indicates that people, they choose their the workers and the employees, they have say in the organizations. I mean, they can put up their issues and their concerns. They can elect leader, the representative. So it is more of a democratic style of leadership, and it is competent and fair leadership is there. Whoever is the leader, whoever is the representative of the people, they are competent, they are just, they are honest, and they fairly deal with each and every employee's grievances and issues if there are any. Then personal working with maximum satisfaction, interest, and high morale. It is it is quite notable that in organization, when you work at the same pace with no motivation or with low morale, of course the work suffers, and not only the organization's productivity is reduced, but the employee too feels dissatisfied or lose interest, and it may affect his personal lifestyle too. So it becomes important that the kind of the conducive environment is created. The working conditions uh, should be favorable, it should be more favorable to the employees, so that they have maximum satisfaction level, their interest is intact, and they have a high morale to perform well on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Then maintenance of sound physical as well as social health of employees. There are safety precautionary measures need to be taken. The physical and social health of employees are important, that there would be certain machinery, certain mechanism, maybe in the form of counselors, maybe in the form of mediators, who would resolve any kind of issues if there are. They should be referring to any kind of psychiatrist or psychologist if they are dealing with any kind of mental issues, or they should have that health insurance coverage, so that their family members and the workers, they feel that there's a sense of belongingness to the organization. Then low turnover rate and absenteeism among employees should be minimized. This is one important part of any organization, that the low turnover rate should be reduced, and there should be the absenteeism amongst the employees should be lower. The rate of people should the organization should have such kind of working conditions and environment there, or relationship amongst the employees with each other should be healthy, so that minimum there's a lower rate of absenteeism among in the organization. Then appropriate recording and reporting system. Each and every activity is recorded, is maintained. There are data, there are files, the performance is evaluated of employees. So recording and reporting system has to be technically more sound. It should be more appropriate, and where each and every detail activity of the employees are recorded, and they are, should have a healthy system, technologically advanced system of keeping track of the employees check out and check in time, uh, uh, in terms of their sick leaves or absenteeism, anything. So there has to be appropriate measures to record each and every activity of the employees in the organization. Then there should be opportunities for employees for giving suggestions, opinion, allowing freedom to express their view. Now, for this, there are mechanisms when you talk about the industrial relation, which is also a part of any establishment. There are ways where the employees can express their concerns or give the suggestions or feedbacks. Even they have representatives, like if you talk about collective bargaining or trade unions, which is a more formal organized way. And then you also have workers participation in management, where the employees are involved in decision making processes, in understanding the nitty-gritties of of the organization's functioning, so they can express their opinions. They have that kind of freedom to give in their views, suggestions, or any kind of feedback, or even be a part or being instrumental in bringing about certain changes in the organizations. Then there has to be a perfect match between individual goals and organizational goals, which is again very important, that one has to understand that there has to be a synchronization between what the individual is expecting from the organization. How? Because although it is about a collective, any enterprise, any organization, it has a collective approach, but nevertheless individual are part of that organization, and every individual needs to grow, need to expand, need to flourish. So it is very important that the expectations, the needs, the desires, the wishes of an individual are also achieved while achieving the goals and objectives of the organization. So there has to be an alignment with the broader goals and objectives of an individual with that of the organizational goals and objectives. So the synchronization is important, so that none of them suffer, not the employees. So when we talk about work life balance, or when we talk about a level of satisfaction, or so this is very important, that both the individual as well as the organizational goals are in align, so that it would be easier for both the parties to achieve their potential, to achieve the goals and objectives. Then there are social security schemes which are available for employees for future, as well as I mentioned earlier, that personal management or human resource management, it encircles around the entire life cycle of an employee. The moment an employee is being hired, and if everything is smooth and the employee is happy, satisfied, contented, so he is a part of that organization until he retired. So there are a lot of social security measures to look after the welfare of the employees, just not only during the tenure of his work, but also when he leaves the organization. That is a post retirement benefits. So there are schemes, social security assistance, social security measures like provident fund, gratuity, which has all been given to the employee employees which have a future to secure his future. So this alignment, the social security measures and these social security schemes are equally a part of the organizational structure, and every employee or every individual who is in that establishment, who is working in that organization, has to have that kind of assurance, that kind of safety net, that kind of security from the organization, so that not only his present is being secured, but it is also about his future concern. So HRM as well as the personal management, in compliance with the social assistance schemes and welfare scheme and social security measures which has been available by the state, in compliance which is also mentioned in the constitution as well as the directive principle and state policies, which becomes an obligation on the part of the organization, on the employers, to provide these safety nets to the employees for any kind of eventualities or for any kind of issues which might occur. So these were the certain characteristics of personal management. So in this lecture of mine, I have discussed about the evolution of HRM, how personal management, starting from, in fact, I had discussed the various phases of the industrial setup and how personal management came into existence, and then which was how this personal management was transformed to human resource management, the various differences of personal management as well as human resource management, and a little brief about personal management so that there is a little bit clarity that what constitute or what aspects of personal management are there, and how similar or how different they are with human resource management. So this is all about my today's lecture. Thank you everyone.